Picture this. No modern hives, no protective suits, no supermarket honey. Just you, a swarm of angry bees, and a stick. Being a beekeeper in medieval times wasn't a charming cottagecore fantasy, it was survival. One wrong move, and you're stung, starving, or mauled by a bear. Today, we'll step into the shoes of a medieval beekeeper and see how they kept themselves, and their villages, alive with nothing but guts and honey. Could you survive? Beekeeping without a suit, the sting of reality. Imagine tending to thousands of angry bees with no protective gear. That was daily life for a medieval beekeeper. Forget the modern bee suits, gloves, and mesh hoods. Their armor was courage, thick woolen clothes, and a lot of smoke. Wool was the go-to because bees struggled to sting through its dense fibers, but it wasn't foolproof. One wrong move and you'd be covered in welts. Smoke was their secret weapon. Beekeepers carried smoldering bundles of dried herbs or rotten wood, gently puffing smoke into the hive entrance. The smoke dulled the bees' aggression, making them sluggish and less likely to sting. But this was tricky. Too much smoke could kill the hive. Too little and, well, you'd regret it instantly. To reduce stings, beekeepers also worked during cooler parts of the day when bees were less active. Some even believed in using calming songs or chants to soothe the bees, blending superstition with experience. Yet, no matter the tricks, getting stung was simply part of the job. Despite the risk, honey was worth it, a precious source of sweetness, medicine, and even currency. Medieval beekeepers endured the sting because failure meant losing more than honey. Hive maintenance, clay, straw, and bare hands. Medieval beekeepers didn't have neat wooden hives with removable frames. Their hives were usually skeps, large, dome-shaped baskets woven from straw, sometimes coated with clay or mud for extra insulation and durability. Unlike modern beekeeping, where you can inspect each frame, medieval keepers had to judge hive health by sound, smell, and sheer gut instinct. A humming hive was good. A quiet one meant trouble. Handling the bees was a delicate dance. Since there were no gloves, keepers had to use bare hands or crude tools to scrape excess wax, clear debris, and collect honeycomb. The hive interior was a wild, sticky maze, and every move risked crushing bees, sparking chaos. To avoid destruction, they'd sometimes knock on the hive and listen for angry buzzing before daring to reach in. Swarming, when a colony divides and half the bees fly off to form a new hive, was another constant challenge. Beekeepers used noise, banging pots, and bait hives smeared with honey to lure swarms back. If they failed, that was a season's income gone. Every bit of honey, wax, and propolis was precious. Hive maintenance was brutal, sticky, and nerve-wracking. Yet mastering it was the only way to keep the sweet rewards flowing. Honey harvest, risking life for liquid gold. Harvesting honey in the medieval era wasn't a gentle process. It was a high-stakes raid. Without modern extractors, beekeepers had to physically cut away chunks of honeycomb from inside the hive. This often meant destroying part of the bee's home, which made the colony understandably furious. Protective gear? Non-existent. The beekeeper's only defense was patience, skill, and thick, sting-filled skin. Timing was everything. Harvest too early, and you'd rob the bees of their winter food, risking colony collapse. Wait too long, and the honey could crystallize, spoil, or be stolen by pests. Late summer or early autumn was the golden window for harvest, giving bees enough time to rebuild before cold set in. Medieval beekeepers used knives or special crooks to cut comb, draining honey through woven cloths or reed sieves. Honey wasn't just a sweet treat. It was prized for its preservative qualities, used in mead making, medicine, and as a valuable trade good. Even beeswax was a hot commodity, essential for candles in churches and homes. Every harvest was a gamble. Risk stings, damage the hive, or walk away empty-handed. But for medieval beekeepers, enduring the swarm's fury was the price of liquid gold. Fighting predators, bears, thieves, and hive robbers. For a medieval beekeeper, bees weren't the only danger. Their hives attracted an entire food chain of opportunists, and defending them was a daily battle. Bears were the ultimate nightmare. A single bear could tear apart months of hard work in minutes. In forested regions, hives were often placed on raised platforms, or even up in trees, to keep them out of reach. Some beekeepers would build simple wooden enclosures or bee houses with spiked fences to discourage larger animals. But it wasn't just wildlife. Humans were just as much of a threat. Honey was valuable, and bee thieves weren't shy. Under the cover of night, raiders would steal entire skeps or cut out honeycomb, leaving devastation behind. To combat this, some communities enforced harsh penalties for hive theft, even mutilation in severe cases. Then there were hive robbers, not people, but other bees. Strong colonies would invade weaker hives to steal their honey, sparking violent bee-on-bee warfare. To prevent this, beekeepers would reduce hive entrances to a tiny hole, making it easier for the colony to defend itself. In the wilds of medieval life, beekeeping wasn't passive. It was warfare, fought with wit, vigilance, and the occasional sharp stick. Bees, omens, and superstitions, the strange beliefs of medieval beekeepers. In the Middle Ages, beekeeping wasn't just a job, it was seen as a mystical connection to nature. People believed bees held spiritual significance, acting as tiny messengers between the mortal world and the divine. If a hive suddenly swarmed or bees abandoned their keeper, it was considered a bad omen, sometimes predicting illness, death, or war. One widespread tradition was telling the bees. When a beekeeper's family member died, it was customary to approach the hives, gently knock, and inform the bees of the passing. Failing to do so was thought to bring misfortune, causing the bees to sicken or flee out of grief. Bees were also associated with purity and hard work. Monasteries often kept hives, seeing bees as symbols of a pious, orderly life. Killing a bee by accident was believed to bring bad luck, while a swarm settling near your home was considered a blessing, a sign of incoming prosperity. Beekeepers themselves were sometimes seen as having a special charm or secret knowledge, walking the line between humble farmers and subtle magicians. For villagers, their hives weren't just for honey, they were living omens, buzzing with ancient wisdom. Could you survive as a medieval beekeeper? So could you handle life as a medieval beekeeper? Let's recap. No suit, no smoker, no gloves. You're relying on timing, instinct, and sheer stubbornness. Every harvest is a standoff with thousands of angry bees, each sting reminding you who really owns the honey. Forget convenient plastic hives. You're working with straw skeps or hollowed logs, lifting heavy combs by hand and hoping the bees are in a forgiving mood. Beyond the bees, you're fending off bears, thieves, and rival colonies. You're constantly repairing hives, replacing lost comb, and keeping predators at bay with rudimentary defenses. There's no backup, no store-bought sugar feed to save a struggling colony. If your bees starve, you starve. Yet, despite all this, beekeeping offered rewards few other peasant jobs could match. Honey for food, mead for trade, wax for candles, and status within your community. A successful beekeeper wasn't just a farmer, they were a craftsman, a trader, even a bit of an alchemist turning flowers into gold. Could you survive? Maybe, but you'd need patience, grit, and a very high pain tolerance. In medieval Europe, beekeeping was as much a battle as it was a blessing.